a warm greeting here from Hungary, and I'm very sorry that I cannot participate in your conference. Unfortunately, the situation concerning our camp, protest camp, here in front of the public media building has become deteriorated. We had been attacked twice, on 2nd of November and 19th of November by the security guards, and now just 1 day ago 2 organizers and 1 protesters had been removed from the protest camp by the police, which so far hadn't been protecting our rights. They ignored our calls for help, and now they even intervened to help those who are using unlawful acts against peaceful demonstrators. This is a situation of Hungarian democracy and Hungarian media freedom here. We have been protesting in front of this public media building more than 1 year against manipulation of news in the Hungarian public media. I have been involved in journalism more than 2 decades, have been working as a foreign news, senior foreign news editor in the same building. And unfortunately, I have to say now, which I repeated many times in the last couple of months, that in Hungary on paper there are 4 public media outlets, 2 televisions, 1 radio and 1 news agency, but there is no real public media. There is a government propaganda channel, a public media used by public funds in order to support the governments. Oppositional voices, voices of the civic society, voices of independent voices are silenced. The whole protest started here on 10th of December last year by a hunger strike organized by me and then my fellow colleagues and civic society members who joined this protest, because the former head of the Supreme Court was distorted on the images of a news item. It was like blurred out, like you use this technique, you know, in the media for criminals or for people whose identity you don't want to make public. This was just the top of the iceberg story. We went to public with all manipulation in the news which had been going on in the last 1.5 years. I must to say that, judging from my experience in the public media in Hungary was always a target of manipulation and intervention and influence from the government sides. So to say, as far as this independence is not really enshrined, not just in law but in real practice, all governments try to influence how their image is appearing in the media. They try to make, of course, a favorable coverage. This was and this is still a practice, but what has been changed in the last 1.5 years since this new government of Mr. Orbán is on par, that from, I would say, soft manipulation, the public media went to the direct manipulation of news. You are not just blurring out of head of public figures, you are having reports in the public media, questions which has never been really raised, answers which was not really answers but was written inside the stories. We are going back in history, the Lukashenko time, like in current Europe, in White Russia, but this is a European Union country and you should think twice how it can happen in this country. I'm here in this, you could see it's a construction site and it is partly true. This is the public media building, the biggest one. There are other buildings. This is called MTVA, Media Supporting and Financial Assets Fund. It was created at the same time as the new media law since 1st of January. More than 90% of the public media workers from radio, television and news agency, including journalists, technical staff and administrative staff, they are working in this building. We had been protesting at the entrance, just you see where the columns is, just at the entrance of this building, inside. There was no fences. There was no double fences. It was all created on the 2nd of November after our demonstrators were pulled out from these sites by force, by so-called security guards without identification, breaching our law, breaching our constitutions, but nevertheless this unlawful act had been taken place here in Hungary and was in a way tacitly supported by the police, which didn't intervene, which arrived late. They pulled out demonstrators, and the official reason that they are making a kind of sculpture about the mountains, which might be see some of them, the Buddha mountains. The real sculpture is not a sculpture, but a 30 meters security wall made of security glass with some graphic design on it. That's, so to say, to deceive the public that it's a artistic work. It's not, it's a wall, it's a security wall. On this paper over there, which has the feature of the construction, you could see this is a wall. So after 23 years, or almost 23 years, 22 years, that the Berlin Walls fell down in Europe, making an end of the division of Europe between East and West, communist and free democracies. Now you could see, at least in the media field in Hungary, in an EU country, a wall is erected, a wall in order to keep out justice, to keep out truthful reporting from this building. This is now not just a propaganda, but a manipulation center. Our protesters moved another place, now in a public space, and on 19th of November, another attack took place, mostly by the same security guards. Our camp, which we put here, some caravans there, it was surrounded by security guards. They put other fences, they put containers in order, I will show you, that the camp cannot be seen visible. And one of the people who is responsible for it, his name is István Böröc, who is a CEO of this MTVA company. And just to tell you how independent can be the public media, the MTVA, this conglomerates which now enshrines all public media outlets, at least 90% of the workers, and has the rights over finances, has the rights over properties. This guy had been appointed by the head of the media council, which supposedly is to supervise not just public media but other media outlets, which was created by the new media law, a superpower hegemonous agency which tried to influence every aspect of the media life, including press, online media, electronic, public media, private media. This media law made a big outcry, not just in Hungary but in Europe. You know all the procedure which started against Hungary, even the European Commission, which is still procedures taking up. This law had been modified modestly. The most, I would say, outrageous parts of the law was taken out, but many parts which is about controlling the media, which about enforcing self-censorship in the Hungarian media and helping these guys to make a media policy seen in Hungary in the dictatorship, in the communist time, in the 60s, 70s, even not in the 80s. That's also because this media law, it's not just outrageous in many parts, but it's not transparent. Many parts is not written. You use terminology like balanced information, which there is no clear explanation what it means. So the same media council, which is created by people exclusively pro-government, the head of this council appoints by the law the head of the media public entity, the biggest one, MTVA. Her name is Anna Maria Szalai. She was a former deputy, parliamentary deputy of the governing Fidesz party. She was that top media woman, and now she got this independent positions enshrined for 9 years. You know, we have 4 years elections, so you got a positions that somebody appointed by a government majority can be in this position for more than 2 election time. This is not about independence, which we could understand that it's not exactly the same time as parliamentary elections, which would be fine, but it means it's not just you are making laws, it's not just you are going back on times, but you are installing your own people in a position that for a decade you cannot remove these people.